Figured it'd be a good time to start the show with this. I mean, y'all know I'm on vacation. I'm in Montana. Some of these shows you're hearing have been taped previously. They've been banked. We did these movie things. We're going to do Any Given Sunday today. You might have already heard Varsity Blues. We're having fun doing this shit. So I get different combinations of people in. Today I get Dr. Fax and my dad, which is a great combination. We've done this combo before. This team plays well with each other. But you guys sat down, and Nate's coming out to visit me in Montana this year. So Dad asked, have you been to Montana before? Dad forgot that like a decade ago, Nate came through, did some paddle boarding, loved it. Fast forward to 2023, we do a draft on this show, Dad, of overrated and underrated states.
He said Montana?
Overrated.
You did? Oh my God, that's like sacrilegious.
That's how I feel.
Wow.
But he's coming out in like 3 weeks.
You panicked?
And to upset Chris, I said Montana.
So you admit it because Dad's here that you were just trying to upset me.
Yes.
But you know, people from Montana love when you say Montana sucks because they don't want you to move there.
I realized that
So
in the mentions.
people in the comments were like, "Yep, no, nothing to see here."
No, but I loved Montana. I brag about the fact that I've been there. I've been in Flathead Lake, and I actually paddleboarded.
It's like an ocean.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And people, you know, the funny thing is, people do, like Chris said, people say, "Hey, look, don't tell
anybody.
Don't tell anybody."
Yeah.
You know, you want to know a 28-mile lake, 15 miles wide.
You can see 15,
the Continental
15
Divide
feet to the bottom.
runs along the whole east shore of the lake, and we're looking right at it.
Yeah, but it sucks. So if you're listening out
It's
there,
terrible. The water's cold.
Yeah.
People are. If you get these three things down, you can live in Montana. Yup, nope, and you betcha.
Yeah, pretty much.
If you get those three things down.
Yeah.
Yup, nope, you betcha.
To the point.
Then you work on it. Yep. Nope. You betcha.
So we'll say hello to Polson, Montana.
Yeah.
Polson, Montana. Hello.
Hello.
All right, cool. We're talking about Any Given Sunday today. My background with the movie is, I'm 14 years old, so I have no frame of reference of what pro football is like, and I don't even remember if I watched it front to back. Like Dad told me plenty of what football was about. He also said the movie was like loosely based on some of the things he was familiar with. Watching it back, I thought it was really ambitious, really fucking long, and like well acted by almost everybody in the movie, but the sum of the parts didn't add up. It's a good movie. It's easy to watch. It's fast paced, but it felt like it was like a big, ambitious swing at this thing, and it was going to be hard to stick the landing. They almost did. It's a pretty good movie. What were your thoughts, Nate?
Kind of similar to yours. I think looking back at when that movie was put out in 1999, you think about it being 2.5 hours. For us doing this exercise, I watched it twice, but it took me about 4 days to watch it.
You watched it twice?
Yeah.
Why'd you watch it twice?
Why not? Like, I wanted to go through. Like,
it's a lot to take in. It's a busy film.
That's
There's
how
a lot
I
of
thought.
plots,
There's
subplots.
3,000 fucking cuts in the movie.
Yeah.
IMDb has it at 3,000 cuts. Okay, like it's just like bang, 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 bang.
And every
bang.
time you watch it, just like you're saying.
How many cuts are there in a John Wick movie? I mean, he's killing.
Yeah, it's probably a lot of cuts in John Wick.
Probably a lot. But just like you're saying, every time you watch it, you notice and you see certain things that you're kind of like, wait, this doesn't really.
Every time I watch the movie this week,
it's like, hey, this doesn't really make sense. But you wonder, like, when they're making these film and they're going through editing, they're just like, yo, they're just gonna let things ride because of the action, or they don't really care about the plot, or did they just miss it? But overall, I think it was great. And then me realizing that now the character is like being older and being like, oh, this is this person. Oh, this is that person.
Yeah, Jim Brown, LT.
But more
Y.A. Tittle's in the movie.
No, Jesse from Saved by the Bell is.
I didn't see Saved by the Bell growing up.
Really?
Yeah, no, you didn't know that?
She's Mandy Murphy.
Okay.
in the movie. She's the hooker, the escort.
We didn't allow that in our house. Saved by the Bell.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't know.
I don't even know what Saved by the Bell is.
I thought you were saying you wow. hookers in the house. It's like, yeah, well, that went without saying.
But overall, I thought it was a great movie. I really enjoyed the football scenes. Believe it or not, I'm trying to think if any movie to date really like compares to the football scenes in this movie. I think the sound, whatever they did with the sound, they did a real good job. And like you see a lot of football movies and you're just like, even like with the Varsity Blues thing, you're just like, like I don't know, and certain hits and sounds and grunts and cracks. I think they did a real good job of it.
Well, we just talked about Varsity Blues, and that the budget there was $15 million. The budget on this film was $55 million.
And at that time, $55 million is like $100 million.
It's a lot of money, and there's some great actors and actresses in the movie, and there's also great players in the movie. And I think they had access to the best information on what pro football was. We could debate whether they missed the landing strip on some of it, but you know, when it comes to knowledge of how to play out a realistic football scene, I thought they did a great job. The plays felt real, and I would argue that making a football movie, if you have the budget for it, is easy. You know, with all the extras. I mean, it's a lot of people, and it's a lot of people that you know you never heard of. And like with Varsity Blues, it was they had 4 out of 5 of the offensive linemen were former offensive linemen that play, so they know what they're doing, and it's really hard for a fan to critique a football movie from a technique standpoint. You know, a basketball movie, I can tell if somebody's jump shot looks like shit. The reason Puff Daddy wasn't in this movie is because he couldn't throw a fucking ball. Like supposedly somebody on set said he threw like a girl, and they sent him home on the plane. You know, like quarterback's tough to emulate, but the blocking.
Jamie Foxx did a good job.
Yeah, he did. The blocking, the running, except he's 5'9". He probably couldn't, maybe he'd be like Bryce Young, but like you can recreate that. There's enough former football players who need a check and you've never heard of that you can throw into a movie. And I thought they did a really good job of that football action.
I thought the football action was as good as it gets.
Yeah.
And I think there's a number of reasons for that. I think one, Oliver Stone probably trusted the people that were in place. The stunt coordinator is a guy by the name of Alan Graft, who played at USC, who's worked on tons of films. As a matter of fact, I worked with him on Broken Arrow. Great guy, knows football, USC guy, the whole thing.
Did you blame him for you breaking your rib on set?
No, I was jumping from one train to another, and we did it like 9 times.
Wait, I thought it was the dock that you broke.
Oh no, that was on Broken Arrow. That was on Firestorm.
Firestorm, right?
Firestorm, I hit a patch of black ice, and explosions were going off behind me as I'm running down the dock.
No shit.
And I want to stop at the end of the dock because it's November in Canada.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be in the water.
Yeah.
Time out.
So I go to stop, my feet go up in the air, and I've got this axe on my hip.
Yeah.
And the axe goes up and breaks my rib.
Yeah.
Wait. So you did all your own stunts in movies?
No, I didn't do all my own stunts. I didn't do any of the motorcycle stunts because I didn't know how to drive a motorcycle.
Yeah, and plus,
but the rest of them I did.
Do you remember your double?
Danny Winan.
Plus,
did he really look like you?
He did look kind of like him.
I think
like, not
at
quite.
a distance, you know, he was leaner, same size.
Flat top.
You know, they gave the flat top and all that. And ironically enough, 2 days before principal photography started on Firestorm, he took little Howie
This is the story.
around a parking lot in Whistler up in Canada on his motorcycle. Because he was going so slow, he hit a patch of gravel. The bike slid out. Howie had a spiral fracture going up his leg. Howie had a cast from here down to his toe.
It was nasty.
The cast weighed more than Howie did.
Did you see the bone?
I saw the spiral fracture.
You saw it?
No, you don't see it.
No, but you didn't see. It wasn't
it wasn't a compound fracture.
So you watched this happen?
Yes, we saw it happen, and you're up in Whistler.
Yeah.
And here we are in an SUV, and we're scrambling to get to a hospital. I don't know where to go.
Yeah.
But you know, it ended up working out well. But I worked with Danny Winen a number of times. Good guy.
You were also tight with one of the stunt guys in The Predator, Henry Kinsey.
Henry Kinsey, classic, great guy.
And he's like in everything. Like once you you know the guy doing the stunts,
you know where Arnold goes
you'll
down.
see him in every movie. It's like
When Arnold goes down, he kind of army crawls down the hill, and there's a pickup truck for whatever reason that has some kind of a belt that's running on a loop. He cuts the belt. Henry Kinsey's the guy that runs and jumps into the pickup truck and blows up.
Yep.
Henry was always the guy that did all the stunts. But I thought, getting back to Any Given Sunday, I thought the football stuff was so realistic as you can get. I mean, there were a lot of football players. They had a lot of former players. They had a lot of probably B-level players who were available. I think the thing that always gets me about the movies, and it was the same thing with North Dallas 40, where are these parties they go to? I mean, I played for the Raiders.
Yeah.
I played for the Raiders. Guys disappeared 2-3 days at a time. I've never seen a party like that.
It also never looked that glamorous. Like we've all been at NFL parties, and I'm not speaking for you, but like there's some seedy, gross shit going on. There's people acting up. It's out of control at times, but it's never as coordinated as that LT party.
And that's what I
saw in a car and a half.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
I said in my notes, the only thing I can chalk it up to not being at a party like this is that I never indulged in coke, and maybe like guys who have parties like that, like that happens. But like the doing the lines off of females and
I didn't see a lot of that.
Yeah, like it's.
Now
I feel like this maybe this movie is the reason why people think this type of.
I do think
like,
this movie,
happens.
as ambitious and at times like as well as the try went, like taking on these issues. It also like made us look bad in some way. It just, the thing about it was an NFL locker room. Yeah, there's 3 guys on every team that act like the guys in this movie, but there's 50 guys that are like normal. They're going home. They're going to chapel. They're like they're good parents. They have like stable marriages. And it's Miami. Most NFL franchises are not in a place like Miami. So I thought the partying was a little bit unrealistic.
Yeah, the tension with the owner, with the coach, and Al Pacino, I thought he was extraordinary in it. I thought he did a great job, and really, I thought captured the essence of the locker room, the speeches, and all that, and trying to reach the player on the field, particularly Jamie Foxx. I got a call on the film, and I never considered it for a couple of reasons. One, I said, I don't really want to go do a football movie. 2 is part of the movie was based on the book It's Just a Bruise, written by Rob Huizinga, who is an internist fresh out of med school at Harvard with the Raiders. And he was just shocked at, how our whole medical process took place. And Dr. Rosenfeld was the doctor that he was kind of butting heads with. And we had a philosophy. And hey, listen, here's the way I look at it. I like Dr. Rosenfeld. Dr. Rosenfeld had a job, and I knew what his job was. His job was to get us on the field. You shot a lot of players up in those days, and you made a lot of decisions for yourself as a player. I made those decisions. Dr. Rosenfeld didn't say, get on the field, you have to get on the field. At the end of the day, I make the decision. There was one situation that was really botched and mishandled was I felt like I strained my calf, something popped at the Coliseum playing Miami. I'm on Dwight Stevenson down on the nose, double reduce. I remember it like it was yesterday, and that first step where and bang, something goes in your calf. And we were, for 2 weeks, we were draining it, and they were telling me it's just a bruise. And, that's the title of the book, It's Just a Bruise. So I get an MRI, and you could only see the team doctor at that time in the NFL.
Second opinion.
No second opinions, nothing. So you got what information he wanted to give you. What ended up happening was I didn't get the information on the MRI. So I go to the same breakfast place I stop at every day, get a full breakfast, pull into the facility. They tell me I got to rush to the hospital. I have a blood clot in my calf.
Jeez.
I wake up with a 10-inch zipper on my calf, and there's virtually no calf.
And you got no calf now.
Right.
Yeah, one of your calves is like.
Yeah. Well, it's a 10-inch zipper.
Yeah, it's like totally deflated compared to the other one.
Yeah.
Was Rob Huizinga supposed to be James Woods?
No, Dr. Rosenfeld was James Woods. The young doctor was Rob
Huizinga.
Rob Huizinga. And Rob Huizinga was, I liked him. It's funny because he was a wrestler in college.
Mm-hmm.
And to give you kind of an idea of what the organization was like at that time, I'll never forget we were in the training room and he was telling me he was an All-American wrestler in college, but he obviously not in the same weight class.
Mm-hmm.
So at that time, I feel like I'm bulletproof. I said, okay, put me in your best move.
Mm-hmm.
And we're in a training room, there's just 2 or 3 of us in the training room. He puts me in his best move. I'm starting to throw him around and an executive walks in and picks up a scalpel because we had this magnetic thing and it was stuck to it.
Yeah.
He grabs a scalpel and says, don't ever touch him. If you touch him again, I'll stab you. It's a lot easier to get doctors than it is all pro defensive ends.
Nice. I was kind of wondering.
And we both kind of like, didn't you mean you'd fire me?
Yeah, yeah. That's crazy.
It's crazy. That happened.
What about, were there any guys in the movie, characters that reminded you of anybody you play with?
I would say probably Lawrence. Lawrence is.
He seemed most realistic.
Yeah, Lawrence was the most. Lawrence was the most realistic, and Lawrence was. I don't want to say that was Lawrence because I didn't play with Lawrence, and I don't have that kind of perspective. But I mean, on the outside looking in, Lawrence went to a place mentally that very few players get to. It's like Ronnie Lott. Ronnie Lott. When it buckled up, Ronnie's one guy here, and he's another guy when it buckles up.
Yeah.
I remember just putting Ronnie's chin strap back on in the huddle. He's just so knocked out.
Yeah.
He really was. And what an extraordinary guy. Ronnie Lott is as good a man as you'll ever run into.
So what are your favorite sports movies before we get into the rest of the film?
It's interesting because it's like with this film. Is it the best football movie? I don't know.
Yeah.
There are a lot of movies that I go back to, and they might not be the best from a directorial standpoint or a cinematic standpoint or the realism. I love Cinderella Man. One of my favorites. Russell Crowe was great in it. I love the story of the Depression. It's a historical piece. Rocky, for obvious reasons, when it came out, your mom and I were at Villanova, and it was an amazing film, and Carl Weathers played for the Raiders. So North Dallas 40, to me, from what was being asked of the players physically, mentally, what you had to do to get yourself on the field to play at that time. It was a different time. Things were done differently. I thought Nick Nolte was amazing in the film. I thought he based that character on Freddie Blitnikoff, ironically enough. And you could see it. If you go back and watch North Dallas 40, he is Freddie Blitnikoff. Now, I'm not saying he was Freddie Blitnikoff off the field, but the way he captured the physical toll that it takes on you and the mental toll. And I thought he did a great job. Mac Davis, who I don't remember being in any other films, was the quarterback, and I thought he did a great job.
Yeah.
John Matuzak, a teammate of mine, was in the movie and was the prototypical cartoonish football guy, 6'8", 295 in the movie. But there was one scene in the locker room that he just nailed it. It was talking about, you tell us it's a game and then it's a business. And he went into this rant. If you go back and watch North Dallas 40.
I think we will.
It's one of the most poignant scenes in the movie. But Nick Nolte's walk in the morning, that, when you're beat up and you've broken everything you can break and you've had, the surgeries are approaching double digits. And those first 3 steps on your way to take a leak in the morning.
Fucking mystery.
You just don't know how those first 3 steps are, and things are cracking, and your back's locked up, and you can't move, and people can't understand. You're in that condition, and on Tuesday they're saying to you, "We need 80 snaps out of you this weekend," and you're thinking to yourself, "How in God's name am I going to play?"
Usually, you feel worse on Tuesday than Monday somehow.
Yeah.
Like it just happens that way. Hey, Matt, question for you. Is this Oliver Stone's last good movie?
I think so. It's probably my second favorite movie of his. I really like Wall Street that he did in the late 80s. But yeah, he hasn't really had a ton of super successful movies since this. But it is interesting that, we all love this movie. The critics didn't. It was only 52% positive critic reviews, but the audience score is 73%. So once again, don't trust.
They didn't know what to do with it.
I also think this, like the NFL didn't know what to do with it. Like supposedly the NFL was all like into giving them film and that sort of thing. And then when they found out what the movie was about, they were like, nah, and we're going to include this in the preseason meetings and tell everybody like, don't associate with anybody who's doing this movie.
Errol Owens still went into the movie, but it makes sense because Oliver Stone's known as like a conspiracy theorist. So the NFL really didn't.
No
Want to
question.
get involved with that.
No question. He wakes up in the morning thinking conspiracy. Breakfast is a conspiracy.
Hey, one more thing, man. Like, what was being an actor like? I mean, like, is there anything that would surprise me that you haven't told me?
When you play football and you're on a team, you're accountable to everybody around you, and I thought Kurt Russell was great in Miracle, one of the other films. And he's a guy I worked with in 3,000 Miles to Graceland with Kevin Costner. I thought those guys were like athletes.
Yeah.
Kurt Russell, Kevin Costner were like athletes. They're accountable. John Travolta was cool. When you're on a $50 million film like Broken Arrow was, they asked me to come, and I was supposed to be there 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And then I got to call your mom and say, John Woo keeps coming in my trailer and saying, "We make you bigger, John Wayne." She said, "You John Wayne." And the next thing I know, I'm there 3 months.
Yeah.
And you guys are home, putting ramps down by the pool and riding bikes into the pool. And there's only so much you could do over speakerphone. I would say it can be kind of, and I don't know if John even remembers this, but we were driving down the road in a chase scene in the middle of, somewhere in Utah. And there's nothing out there in a Hummer, and I'm driving, and in between scenes, there's a camera truck in front of us, and John says, between takes, and I'm like, I'm all business. So you need me for 15 hours. I'm here for 15 hours, and fine. He says, how's your energy, Howie? And I said, I'm good. What am I going to say? I'm tired. I said, no, I'm good. He said, you know what? I think we need some cookies. And we're out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, nowhere. He radios up on the walkie-talkie to the truck in front of us. He tells them we need cookies. So on a Hummer, the center console is probably this big.
Yeah.
And he has the chopper that's on the set go to God knows where to get cookies in the middle of nowhere.
Were they good?
Oh, they were, Pepperidge Farm, assorted cookies. So we've got a tray of cookies
That's
here.
So good.
Yeah. That's the kind of thing where if you did that at
not gonna happen.
It's not going to happen. Hey, you know what? I need a cookie.
Yeah.
Let's stop. But John cut a big hole in the water, and he was good to people on the set. He was good to me, and it's fun to be in a $50 million film.
Yeah.
Same thing with Kevin Costner. He was great. They were all great. Yeah.
Yeah.
How'd that feel to kind of get called up? Like you're sort of inexperienced at that point, and then John.
Inexperienced. First time I'm on the set, I walked on the set and they mic'd me up, and that was it.
Was that like surreal that he started giving?
It was kind of surreal, but you know what? When I came into the NFL and I got drafted by the Oakland Raiders, those first 20 or 30 steps on the field were a lot like those first 20 or 30 steps onto the set, because I hadn't played in anything. You played in much bigger college football environment than I did. So, yeah.
All right, let's hit some of our favorite scenes. Anybody can chime in with one or two that they like, and we can talk about it a little bit.
What you think, Nate?
Like, I mean, the iconic one is the first when Willie Beeman first gets in and he throws up. I feel like that's like culturally like iconic.
Yeah.
Drake raps about it in a song. Like a lot of people use it as reference now, and it's something that I feel like being a football player, we can kind of like all relate to. Like whether it's nerves. I've definitely thrown up before a game
from
overhydrating, drinking too much, and then going out there and warming up and getting back in the locker room, and my stomach is just like shaking up from doing high knees and whatever.
Or the other end, like number 69, like Latimer from the program, he had to take a shit with the IV on. Like all the drugs they pump you full of. Like the first half, it's anybody's guess. So you're gonna have to go back to like Toradol, Ultram, all that stuff. And it just tears
we just
your
did cortisone and xylocaine, so you could hit a wall.
Well, we did cortisone too, but you know, when you need a little bit.
They didn't have Toradol when I played.
Yeah. End of my career, I was 2 shots of Toradol, 2 Ultram, and 2 more of something else. And you know, a lot of times, like you'd run out for warm-ups, and I was like, I'm buzzing.
Nah.
Like, I feel good.
College used to get the Toradol in the butt.
Oh, I didn't miss a game without Toradol.
I didn't find out until like the last half of senior.
That you could actually get it, that it was actually available to you.
Yeah, and I was just like, oh,
yeah, that was behind the curtain the whole time.
Game changer.
I love the scene. It's a totally unrealistic scene. It's a plot hole in a way, and we'll get there. But like at the end of the movie, when they're walking out of Dallas, and you know, you would never be out there. The stadium's totally clean, so obviously, like, you know, they've been there a while. Usually after the game, you get on the bus and you go home. You don't put your jersey back on and throw out on the field. You know, like Willie Beeman was out there in his jersey and no shoulder pads.
That's where it got away from him.
Yeah, but I did love that conversation between him and Willie Beeman. It was like, you know, at the end of every season in the NFL, there is a point where everybody's like, okay, it's over. And, you know, it's exit meetings, it's the last party, it's like whatever, it's the last day on the field. And you kind of close the loops. Now, they had a couple more playoff games to go, and they lost to, I guess, San Francisco or something. But these guys had a really fractured relationship, and you could see that it was like they were mending it. You know, whether Willie was going to be on the team next year or not, like at least they could leave with dignity. And, you know, Pacino saying like, it's all about, you know, I met a guy from way back in the day that played, and he said the one thing you miss is looking at the guys in the huddle. And I got chills hearing that, because it really isn't any of the other stuff that people imagine, but it's that feeling of like, we're locked in, the stakes are high, we're all on the same page, and I can count on you and you can count on me. And there's nothing I can replicate. Even podcasting business, my family, like there's nothing I can replicate that with after football. And the line, I'll miss you, amigo. I love that line. And obviously they didn't miss each other because he went to Albuquerque with him.
Great post-credit scene.
But I thought,
which was great.
I thought that was a great scene. And I really love Pacino's connection with Jamie Foxx. And I love Pacino's connection with Cameron Diaz. I thought Cameron Diaz had a great performance. I thought them yelling at each other was so fucking raw, and the arguments that they were having. Like, I've never been in an owner and coach meeting, but I would imagine it gets heated. I thought it was really cool with him and Jamie Foxx, though, because Jamie Foxx, I just saw an interview where the first time he met Pacino, he asked him to come to Shutters on the Beach. You know where that is? I actually stayed there for the Willie Nelson thing with Tom and Kevin. And I know exactly where he's talking about. He walks in, he meets Al Pacino, and he said Pacino was just like, he was a great coach. You know, like that's what he was for Jamie. And he was a coach for Jamie in the movie. Yeah. But off screen, he was coaching him up and took him under his wing, and he was like a real team player. You know, not the Pacino. He said, Denzel, when you meet Denzel, it's the same guy. You know, like he sounds the same, he talks the same, the whole thing. Pacino's like a totally different guy, kind of disarmingly unsure of himself, the whole thing. I love that scene, and I love their connection.
I loved Pacino throughout the movie, and, you know, that relationship was great. I thought his relationship with Dennis Quaid's character, you know, the guy that, you know, you build that up over a period of time. That's your guy. Yeah. You know, that's the guy you've you've won with, you've lost with, you've done battle with, and amigo and all that. Dennis Quaid was that, and it's as inevitable as a wave hitting the beach. Your time will come,
and the coach, if he's lucky, is going to have to bury you.
Yeah, he's gonna. I that's one of the reasons why I got out when I got out. I said I don't want someone telling me to go. I want to go. And that was the way I did it. But I liked I thought Al Pacino did a great job. I thought in looking at it, I called you the one night I was watching it, or I texted you the one night I was watching it. I thought Lawrence Taylor in sections of the film was great.
Yeah.
Was great.
Yeah.
With the injury in the neck and the head, and they're not giving him all the information, and he's got to get out there and play, and Jim Brown's his coach, and Jim Brown as the coach, he can love him all he wants, but at the end of the day he's got to get Lawrence Taylor back on the field.
But I thought Jim Brown and LT had a really realistic relationship between an old vet and an old coach that played. Like, I had some old coaches that played, and it's a special connection, and that guy can motherfuck you with, like, almost like it's endearing, like it's like affectionate, but they're telling you the truth.
He can do that, but nobody else can.
Exactly.
Because nobody else on the team could do that to him.
And I love that connection. I thought they had that, like, and even at the end when they were playing with Shark's life, LT's life, effectively with the diagnosis that they had their hands on, like, Jim was not comfortable with it. He knew his place, but he was not comfortable with it. And the one thing I thought was unrealistic was I don't think you could sign a waiver on something like that.
I'm not sure that there's. I don't think there's a check that box.
Well, yeah,
you could check a box on a knee. You could check a box on maybe a back, neck. You start to get a little bit.
But conversely, I also thought it was unrealistic that when Cameron Diaz and James Woods, I believe, were having this conversation about cutting him in the offseason, that they actually cared about his family and how much money he had. Like, no one's having that conversation. James Woods was like, he has 4 kids. Like, that's never a part of the calculus.
Well, I no, it's not to a great extent. I thought Al Davis could be a lot of things.
Yeah.
But the one thing I will say about Al Davis is he helped a lot of former players that people don't know about.
Well, maybe Al was influencing that.
Yeah, you see, that's what I'm saying. I think if you're consulting with someone from the Raiders, and obviously that dynamic of the 2 doctors, the old doctor who's made his deal with the devil to a certain extent.
And had a lot of chicks.
No, Dr. Rosenfeld wasn't like that.
So they embellished that.
No, Dr. Rosenfeld.
That seemed like an unnecessary part of the plot, like where again.
I think that was to me the reason why they did that was it kind of explained why he was hanging on and
the lifestyle,
doing what he had to do.
They do like the lifestyle.
Continue the lifestyle.
They do like the life. There's a big lifestyle. In
no
football,
question.
And a lot of the reason that coaches stay in so long too is what I found is, and I'm not throwing shade, but we go on the road, we got a curfew. We can't be doing anything but studying our shit. These coaches and doctors, they go out and have a good time, and they go out to dinner, and they're the ones who are supposed to be working on the fucking game plan. How many times can I study, heat and hot? Like, those are my 2. So my point is, like, there's a definite lifestyle factor when it comes to, like, sticking in the league a long time. And these coaches, it's like a country club. Same thing with the doctors and
the other thing I thought they really captured with Al Pacino there were so many dynamics to his character, and there were so many scenes that you could point to, the Willie Beeman, the Dennis Quaid character, all that, but him sitting alone at a bar, and he's trying to get a hold of his estranged family.
Because that's real.
Because it's real. Because he people don't realize how hard it is to coach in the NFL or in college football.
Yeah.
You have to have not a good wife, not a great wife. You have to have an amazing wife, and your kids have to be understanding. I apologize to you for the first 5 years of your life because you know, you're playing 13 years. You don't have a dollar guaranteed. I could be cut at any time. Not $1.
Yeah.
And we didn't make big money at that time. I mean, my check was $1,007 my rookie year after taxes.
Yeah.
But it would have been the same for me.
I had a used Coupe de Ville, man.
Yeah.
I was in Oakland.
Yeah. Yeah. But it would have been the same for me, though, with my kids if I'd have had them earlier, because it's impossible to be present.
Yeah, because you're just, you put so much pressure on yourself. And I thought that was one thing that really showed up in this film. They captured the essence of the pressure that the players feel, that the coaches feel, that the owner feels, everyone feels, the doctor feels.
The pace of the movie helped do that.
Yeah.
I mean, it was in your face. I mean, I honestly felt like with all the cuts, I was going to have a seizure. It was like one of those things. The one thing that they actually captured really well on a family level, or like a relationship level,
fight.
Was the fight
With Jamie and his girl.
Yeah, which you can see that play out with a lot of guys that we play with, and like,
Don't let my success go to your head, bitch.
well, yeah, that and just the minute he got successful, like it strained that relationship.
All the insecurities.
because it just brings to the forefront all the insecurities and all the temptations of being that star player, and even,
Well, there was an arc to his character, because I think he was humble.
Yep.
He was out of control. Then he kind of
came back down to
earth towards the end of the film.
And that's how it goes for a lot of guys. And in the meantime, they lose people. They lose, whether it's their wife, their friends, like, you know, and sometimes it's just that player's not even changing. Willie Beeman was, but it can be the appearance of all the things that this person now has to do, the responsibilities, the hands they have to shake, the parties they have to go to, the attention that you can just feel on your significant other. I think that's a big strain. And right down to, I'm going to call your mama.
Yup. I'm going to call your mama.
It was just so, it was so on point. And then like the gals getting the guys in trouble at the party, like that shit goes on. You know,
my guys always tried to get me to go out.
Yeah.
And I wasn't really much of a go out guy.
Yeah.
And I'd say to them, and it worked for just about everybody. I said, you know what? You want me to go out? Call my wife. Mm-hmm. One guy in 13 years said to me, give me the number.
Who was it?
Tim Brown.
Oh, Tim Brown.
Tim Brown called Diane, and he said to your mom, hey, Howie said, you know, he can't go out because, you know, he said,
if we play together, I would got you out.
and she said, do you believe that bullshit?
He just doesn't want to go out.
Yeah.
Tim Brown.
Was that realistic? Because one of my favorite scenes is when Cap's wife is like yelling at him, telling him that he can't retire.
Lauren
like,
Holly.
Yeah, Lauren Holly.
Dumb
is
and
like,
Dumber.
Like
The
you have 3
babe.
more.
Well, you want to talk
years.
about, I think there are people who definitively like the lifestyle.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And, you know, your identity is, listen, I'm not throwing stones at
not a
anyone.
wise
There's enough guilt for everyone, the players, coaches, wives, whatever. And they're great players, great coaches, great wives. It's just a question of, you know, what your perspective is.
And then there's some Godzillas, some wives that everybody on the team knows, like.
But usually the quarterback,
that
like
chick
if you
is running that guy's life. And if your wife goes anywhere near that chick, like maybe you should make some shit up about her, because like I don't want my wife being friends with the Godzilla wife. That was Lauren Holly.
That's the dynamic. And then to get back to you, like to what you were saying earlier about the NFL not liking and them putting kind of like a bad name on football players. I'm sitting here watching this movie with my girl, and they show what Vladimir, the old lineman, in this in Any Given Sunday.
Vladimir.
They show him being mad watching Willie Beeman on TV at his house, and he has about 3 kids running around. Mm-hmm. His wife looks like she's like 9 months pregnant, and she goes like she's like cleaning up, and she goes like, why can't we get a maid? And he was like, why do we get married? Like, what did I get married for? And then the next scene when it cuts, it's the party scene after they win, and he's pulling up on the bike with an escort.
Yeah, I mean,
and my girl was like, is that the same dude that just had the last scene? And I was like, yeah.
It gives you it's a bad look at what like most NFL players are like. That's not what most guys are like.
There are a number of scenes that, like I said, where are these parties?
Exactly.
You know, I played for the Raiders.
Yeah. By the way, Cap supposed to be 38, which is how old I am. And when the movie started, I was like, is that how old I am? Because you know, sometimes you go back and be like, how old was that actor when he did that role? That's how old I am right now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, how old was Kevin Costner in Tin Cup? 38. Dennis Quaid looked rough for 38 in that fucking movie. He was actually what? How old was he?
45, I think.
45.
And another one of my favorite scenes is when he gets Elwayed right at the end, like his last possession.
It's a total Elway. Total Elway. Yeah. So we got through the scenes. What other mentions do we have?
Well, we were just kind of talking about some of the supporting performances, so why don't we just jump right to that? Howie, I know you're a big Charlton Heston fan. Chris has told me that you like some of his old films.
Yeah, I
This is
really
one of
set
his
him up
last
for
movies.
success when
He always plays, whether it's the president or someone significant in the movie with the Western, two different versions of it. One's with Kevin Costner.
Dances with Wolves.
No, the shootout at the OK Corral.
Matt, what's you
Looking.
Yeah. Hold on, we'll find it.
One's with Kevin Costner, and one's with Kurt Russell.
Yeah.
Tombstone?
Tombstone.
Oh, Tombstone. Yeah.
Yeah. And at the end of the movie, towards the end of the movie, when he's got his sick friend and he's staying with him, Charlton Heston comes out and he's, seems like he's 2 feet taller than everyone. And
Right.
he says, if they come for him, they got to come through me. Mm-hmm. He's always that kind of
Badass.
just a larger than life character. He was perfect in the film for that. Yeah.
And I didn't really get. I mean, like, part of the movie that I didn't love was, and maybe you could include the Gladiator stuff in here, but like the shots to all the fans, like they were like ghosts. They were trying to tie that thing together with like Willie Beeman and Al Pacino. I didn't get that. Maybe somebody could explain that.
That stuff was kind of a reach.
Yeah, somebody could explain.
But
that.
that's just I think that they went in that direction creatively, and
You mean
like
the
you said, I think
flashback?
they
the flashbacks.
they
the-
swung at the fence.
I guess
the lightning.
I guess it was trying to emulate.
felt like I missed something.
I guess it was trying to emulate the championship he won. Maybe like that was the way he won it. But again, like maybe it was like a plot hole. Maybe that's something that they watched at his house, like that they cut out the movie.
I think they just tried. They tried to do some things from a cinematic standpoint that were, from a visual standpoint that were a little bit of a reach.
So best supporting actors and actresses, like I thought, and also we'll give out the dad, you can just sit this one out, but smoke show of the movie is obviously Cameron Diaz, in my opinion.
I don't know that
What?
it's that obvious.
Oh, I think it's pretty
What?
obvious.
No, Mandy Murphy,
Who's that?
Jesse from Saved by the
The
Bell.
Bell.
And I kind of like Lauren Holly.
Dude, I her run in the 90s, The Mask, she'd never been in a movie before. People were like, who the fuck is this? And then, I thought,
Something about Mary.
but also the point is she was great in the movie. And she, I thought her role or that subplot was necessary because that was another layer of football. And, it's funny, like, because with ownership, you get to see it. Like, it is a succession kind of deal. And, not everybody is the same. It's like a total crapshoot, like what your kid's going to be like if you own an NFL team. Yeah. She was ambitious. And I think also probably the way she felt on set with all those alphas and doing that very masculine movie is how her character in the movie would have felt. So it was kind of interesting.
How tall is she?
I think she's like 5'8".
Because the scene with her and Jamie Foxx in the locker room,
He's little compared to her. Well, she's probably wearing heels.
She like the way the angle of the camera, she looks like she's towering over him, and it's so funny.
Well, another thing from that very same scene, it's kind of a plot hole, is there are no meat handshakes after games. Like, owners don't come down and like, I've never had I did have a female owner. She never came in the locker room, Georgia Frontier. But yeah, no, she walks right up to a naked guy and shakes his hand.
Shakes his hand.
That's not, no one's doing that.
Yeah, they didn't need to have that in the movie.
I also thought Jamie was great. I thought James Woods was great. There really wasn't a bad performance in this movie. Aaron Eckhart was good. Aaron Eckhart told an interesting story on our friend.
He's good.
Yeah, he's a great actor.
Yeah.
Seems like a great guy too. He's on
Yeah.
Rich Eisen. I saw him tell this story. He rolls up. He's not working that day. He's just like watching things. Like, I guess he had just gotten in. Hasn't been introduced to anybody. Oliver Stone's like, you want to fucking get busy today? Like, he's like, no, I'm not working. Like, what do you want? He's like, go out there and talk to Al Pacino. Go talk to Coach. So he walks out, and I was like, you're not even scheduled today. Like, what's going on? And they're like, go over there and lead that drill. So he has to walk over to all these 8'10", 315-pound guys and start fucking yelling at him, and they don't know he's the coach. And so he's motherfucking these guys, and the drill ends, and one of the guys has to be separated from Aaron Eckhart. He's threatening to kick his ass. He's like, who the fuck are you? If you ever talk to me like that again, I'm going to throw you up in the stands. And he goes, I'm your offensive coordinator in the movie. So like Oliver Stone's style is just wacky, and the way people describe shooting this movie was like chaos, down to like shooting.
They did that with The Godfather.
Did they?
They had a dinner.
Yeah.
And, he didn't tell them. He just said, we're the entire dinner you're in character. First night, they've just met everyone.
Just throw you in the deep end.
Yeah.
Which is kind of, we were just talking about Tin Cup. It's like Cheech telling, Kevin Costner just put some shit in his pocket, fix his swing. Stop thinking about it. Just go act. Oh, this guy, Jack Rose, John C. McGinley. Yes. He's in supposedly a lot of Oliver Stone movies. Yeah. And he was based on Jim Rome, and you can see that.
I don't know if I saw Jim Rome. I'm not sure which kind of.
I could see Jim Rome. I thought it was a mix of Jim Rome and Nick Wright. Nick Wright is a guy now who's on TV, and I think if they recast the movie, Nick Wright would be the guy to play Jack Rose.
That was more of a time with like local beat reporters, which I think it's sort of based off of. But they also used the Jim Rome because Jim Rome got attacked by
Chris Everett.
Well, he was calling Jim Everett.
He was calling him Chris Everett, which listen.
Well, you'd be prepared to.
Yeah. I listen. I
like Jim.
I've done Jim Rome's show a number of times.
I wonder what he thinks
throughout the course of my career. I mean, I've never had a problem with him. But if you're going down that road,
But with the beat writers, that's a real thing though. Like coaches and beat writers, like they have like rivalries. There's guys in Philly that the coaches are like, fuck that guy. You know what I mean? That they're like, I don't want him anywhere near this player, that sort of thing, because they grind these axes over a course of 3-4 seasons, and all of a sudden you got a rivalry between the head coach and the beat writer.
All right, we want to add in any other like unnecessary scenes, plot lines.
Oh hell yeah!
So my first thing is, did anyone notice that Jamie Foxx has a tramp stamp in this movie?
No.
He has a tramp stamp that says cocked with 2 guns pointing at his butt.
Is that real life?
I have no idea.
And that, what that to me that's where you go off the rails. You're trying to kind of oversell the idea of this is what football players are like.
And then the Cayman in the shower.
No one's got the alligator. There's no heavy metal circle. After games, you see how they were all playing Metallica, and there's like a battle over.
No, but it's not heavy metal. But there's definitely
pockets. But that was like
it's more country. The country music gets cut on by guys. But yeah, there's definitely no one throwing the alligator in the locker room.
Okay, there's definitely Beeman hands the ball off in his first game, and they drill him. Like that's a penalty.
Yes.
The team plane, too nice, too spacious. Like planes are not like that. I don't know about y'all's plane, one like that.
No.
LL Cool J supposedly making $10 million a year per the kid, confirmed by LL Cool J's character. Not realistic, especially not in the 90s. I mean, right now guys are getting tagged at $10 million. I mean, back in the day, that wasn't the case. Maybe you could weigh in on this, Dad, but like when Cap and LL Cool J and Pacino are in the back room and Beeman's starting, and they're going to more of a passing offense, I thought it was unrealistic that LL Cool J in front of like 4 people is talking about his Reebok money to the head coach. It seemed a little bit far-fetched.
I've never heard that.
Okay.
I've never heard that. I've heard, look, I get one more sack, I get a $50,000 bonus.
And that's a good segue to the next plot hole to me, which was, and Nolan, maybe you can help me with this in today's day and age, but like, I don't remember ever getting a bonus that was based on, incentivized by my play that stretched into the postseason. At one point he was volleying he wanted to play, and he said, if I get 2 more tackles and a sack, I get $1 million. This was the last game of the season, had ended,
But remember, this is not the NFL. This is
But
the AFL.
Yeah, you're right. It's a different league.
They could have a different salary structure.
could have a different
They say
salary.
that the Miami Dolphins exist, so the NFL in theory exists in the same universe.
Well,
that's
I
interesting.
think it's like anything else. It's like the two guns down tramp stamp. I mean, it's an exaggeration or trying to get a point across, or overemphasize something that they perceive as happening all the time when it really doesn't happen.
And can you step on somebody to get in the end zone?
I put that too. Yeah,
I don't
like,
think
he
you can
definitely-
step on like Beeman's last touchdown in Dallas.
Yeah, you
he
can't
basically,
jump. Yeah, he jumps.
yeah, you can't do that. So, but it is the AFFL, well, so fuck.
They have a terrible special teams team.
Oh, they do.
Yeah, throughout the movie, they're getting
Special
gashed.
teams is
They're
bad.
Gashed on special teams.
All right, not applicable.
Well,
They just
you
don't
think
have a great-
about coaching. How many actors do they have to coach them up?
yeah.
If something is going to suffer in a production,
Probably gonna be a special.
it's going to be
teams.
special teams.
All right, let's move ahead to best prop.
Oh, also Cameron Diaz isn't even watching the last playoff game.
Yeah.
For fuck's sake, she would be watching the game, especially her character. Next,
Best prop.
the eyeball.
That's what I got to.
Okay, the eyeball, which was the most unnecessary part of the whole movie.
Unrealistic.
Like totally
too.
unrealistic. I mean, you had the Orlando Brown thing with the flag. You know, eye injuries happen, but an eyeball.
Bizarre.
That happened in college basketball, right? Like the kid from
Yeah,
Villanova,
yeah,
right?
guy-
he got
I don't know
someone's
about
finger.
Villanova, but
Yeah, like right something.
somebody got their eyeball scooped out.
Yeah, the finger went in and it popped
Had to
it
get
out.
it reattached.
Yeah, had to
But
get
it
it
was-
pushed back
wow.
in.
It was still attached.
Yes, it was still
Yeah.
on the string.
This was
yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
I'd like the shark's gold tooth, I think.
An eye popping out of the socket is considered a medical emergency.
Yeah, no shit.
No shit.
Coaches,
That's on Google, huh?
Yeah.
That's good to know.
The prop I would like is coaches jambalaya.
Oh, yeah.
And the fact that he was calling it jambalaya the entire movie is so
Well,
funny. to me.
it was a play on him trying to be relatable.
Yeah.
I mean, like everything his first pass at Jamie Foxx was to be relatable.
Yeah.
You know.
You know what he
And
said?
Jamie called him
No, you
out
know what
on
he
it.
said? He said he's got him on the sideline. He said, just don't worry about it. Simplify things.
Yeah.
Just think the back.
Run to the Buick.
Back when run to the Buick. You're in the hood.
You're in the hood.
You're in the hood.
You're
It's
in the neighborhood.
It's like the whitest thing
Yeah,
to say. You're in the hood.
Yeah. Run to the Buick. I thought.
It's a good callback in the movie when Jamie kind of throws it in his face, like, look, like you don't get it, like you don't get it. You think you do.
But I thought that was another great scene.
It was a real
Him
good
going over
scene.
dinner,
It was.
the Al Pacino back and forth was a.
And it's crazy to think that this movie was in 1999, and if you run that Willie Beeman speech to his coach, it's still pretty accurate. Everything he's saying.
What's interesting, that meeting to me was like the clash of the two eras. Mm-hmm. It was like that's what was happening right there. It was like new football, awareness, players being self-aware of their worth, but black quarterbacks. Talking about race,
and then he jumps into the college, like he even says in that speech about like what college, like it's the same dynamic, and now we're about to see that even more coming up with the NIL deals and parents having to figure things out.
He was the new age athlete, he was the old school coach, and this was like the collision course. And it was interesting because they didn't find common ground in that moment, but
And it's
they
the
both
new
made
school-
good points.
It's the new
like,
school owner.
Yeah.
And the old coach.
And then the fact that they played into the storyline that he was a kid that had his stock drop because he took something minor. Someone
which in
gave
today's
him a
day and
suit.
age seems so ridiculous.
So ridiculous. Someone
so
gave
ridiculous.
you a suit, but like we hear about those stories. The whole when it
I
first
called
started,
McCoy,
the Ohio State, the kid they were getting free tattoos.
Yeah, I used to make fun of James Laurinaitis all the time.
Oh,
Be like, did you pay for those?
exactly,
Yeah.
or giving away. You could think about ruining your college legacy because you
We
gave
had
someone a jersey or something like that.
We had that problem at Villanova. There was just cash just flowing.
I bet it was.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
flowing.
I tell everyone I
$100
wish.
handshake.
I tell everyone I wish. Everyone's like, yo, you guys definitely had that at Virginia. And I was like, guys, I would have no problem telling you. And I was like, I really, really
No
wish.
chance.
Howie, just so you know, Ben-Hur was actually playing on the TV in the background when Pacino has Jamie Foxx over.
Yeah.
It's like a callback.
Yeah.
Easter egg
Yeah,
for Charlton
yeah.
Heston. Yep.
Yeah.
Nice catch.
All right, so best use of music in the film. Nate, what you got?
I got Kirk Franklin, Revolution, during the TD pass, Jamie Foxx throws versus the Crusaders. I think when that song hits, it's I think it's strong in the movie because it seems like it's a hip hop song, but it's actually a gospel song.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, and just like with the tie-in.
Gospel, right?
Yep. And just with the tie-in of like Jamie, the storyline that like his mom has never seen him play because he plays on Sundays, and it's sort of like realistic, like where there are some parents like who are really like churches. Hey, like I'll go to your game if it doesn't interfere.
They change. They change the time on those.
Nate, you know Nate couldn't celebrate Halloween because it's a pagan holiday.
Yep.
What?
It's a pagan holiday.
It's the day.
I didn't know that either.
The day of the day.
So
of
Nate,
the
all the
devil.
other kids were dressed up. Nate was at home.
I used to only be able to dress up as like sports people. So like I used to wear like I remember
Seems reasonable.
Bernie Williams jerseys, nothing demonic, no like witches or warlocks and things like that.
No warlocks in the Collins household.
All right. I actually like the "My Name Is Willie" Beeman rap song by Jamie Foxx.
Oh, I like them. I like them dropping some Bill Withers on us. Use me in the Dallas game.
Nice.
Yeah.
You know,
And then obviously
Matt liked the DMX song.
Yeah, I was just about to say the DMX my is
You into Bill Withers?
a good track. No, I don't think so.
Bro, come on.
Wow.
Does that bother you?
One of the
Come on, bro.
coolest people.
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously.
You got to watch
Okay.
a documentary on Bill Withers.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got to watch
Still
it.
Bill.
You walk away. Still Bill. He's West Virginia guy. Just a
Voice of a
really
fucking,
cool
yeah.
guy.
Okay. What genre is he?
I mean, like, I guess you would call it soul.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
mean, you know.
Okay. I'll have to check it out.
Drip Award. So this is either the best or worst dress. Any comments on any clothing?
Yeah, worst dressed. The Dallas Crusaders. They had the worst uniforms in sports movie history.
Yeah, same thing.
I mean, not to mention that whole setup there in Dallas.
It looked like a Knights thing.
It
that was
looked
kind of
like a
in Vegas.
Klan meeting place or something, like the Knights Templar kind of thing, like a culty, like Al Pacino's up there at the podium. I'm like, what do they usually do at this fucking podium?
Where my mom took you guys to some, they reenact.
Yeah, it looked like the medieval
Medieval
times.
times.
You got the same yellow on as them right now.
Yeah, I do,
do.
but this kit's a lot better. I thought that was a hideous stadium, hideous uniform, the whole thing. Also, all these old coaches were really well shot.
Well, do you guys know? I think Howie might. Do you know who this old coach is?
Johnny Unitas.
There we go.
Yeah, and they had.
That's an easy one.
They had.
I'll tell you what. If you pull up. I don't know if you can get him. Offensive tackle from the San Francisco 49ers, Hall of Famer.
Bob
St.
Clair.
Clair.
Yeah, Bob
He's
St. Clair.
6'8",
Yeah.
6'9".
Yeah.
Bob St. Clair is the opposing
Dick
coach.
Butkus is a coach too.
Yeah.
Which was like, oh, there he is. Like, anytime you see Dick Butkus, he kind of stays to himself. But
LL Cool J after the Crusaders win,
Yeah.
his drip was good.
Is what?
His drip, what he was wearing.
His swag.
I think Terry was Terry Tate in the movie. Can you look that up?
Lester Spate, who's Terry Tate, was in the movie. He was the security guard.
See,
Okay.
see,
Yeah,
I
they
knew it.
didn't
Like
have him
they
playing football.
flashed when I watched it. I watched it this morning, and like
Was he
one
the
of
guy that wouldn't let Willie Beeman in?
No, like he's like a sideline security guard or
Yeah,
something.
he's one of the Sharks security guards.
So
it.
like they flashed to him, and I'm like, that guy looks familiar. Who is it? And then I remember, I'm like,
That's so
I
good.
literally put Terry Tate ?
That's so good. The one thing we should mention is that LL Cool J and Jamie Foxx really got in a fight. Now, I think a lot of people probably know this about the movie if you've read up on it, but in one of the scenes where they're supposed to be arguing on the sideline, I guess LL Cool J was putting a little extra English on the shoulder pats and, just getting a little physical, but not over the line.
And Jamie swung.
And Jamie swung on him. He said, don't touch me like that. They do another take. He touches him like that. Jamie hits him in the face, and LL Cool J is like, what the fuck was that about?
Rips his helmet off.
So he rips his helmet off, and LL Cool J in the interview describes how he did it. You would like this. He pulled the face mask up and was throwing uppercuts.
Down and
checked
then
him.
up.
Yeah, down and then up.
Because the head goes.
But
They said he was knocked out cold.
Knocked out cold. They said initially
And they're
Jamie
cool
Foxx. They said initially Jamie Foxx pressed charges. There were police, and they might that it put filming on hold for like 2 days until they rectified it. to get them
Jamie
back.
Foxx is like seeing things and shit. He's he's sensitive bright lights, so like you got to get out there.
And then the plot hole in the movie, it's funny because the scene, it goes for them racing.
Yeah.
I think that racing scene with them outside, that originally that maybe there was a fighting scene that was cut out, because they go right from that racing scene and Jamie Foxx beating LL Cool J in that race, which is a good scene the way they did that. But it goes straight from there to LL Cool J getting stitches in his head and the doctor telling him, like, I know a good plastic surgeon that can, because he has a bald head, that can fix that up. And I'm just like what happened? And it's funny to hear, like,
I think they got into it. They got into it in the movie. Yeah. But like, you watched it twice, though. So
but like, it goes straight from that race to him being into the thing. It's not when they get into it. They get into it after. Yeah, they get into it after in the shower. Yeah. But still, in all those scenes, it's always LL Cool J getting the best of Jamie Foxx, not the other way around.
Oh, you mean Jamie Foxx getting the best of LL Cool J?
No. Yeah. I mean, in the show.
Well, because he actually was probably beating him up in real life. They probably kept some of that footage. Well, I think they lost some of it and they wanted it back, but
all right, we'll wrap this up here. A couple quick hitters. Bevel Conway Award, the most beautiful scene. What was the most beautiful shot, most beautiful location?
Well,
to me is because it's unrealistic, but it's the party.
You love that party, huh?
Scene, Bill Bellamy's getting a blowjob. Everyone's casually walking around. There's dudes doing coke, and then two other girls come in.
It's in the game.
Like, they come in casually to get mad, to grab their guys out of the party, and I'm just like, if first off, nothing like this would ever happen.
You're gonna say the end of the game when the sun was heading over the stadium.
Twice here.
Yeah, okay.
Perspectives.
Yes. I would ask you this: whose house did you like better, Cap's house or Al Pacino's house? Pacino, it was a gorgeous house. He had a beautiful tree outside his kitchen.
He's on the water. He wins.
He's on the water.
Yeah.
He wins.
Cap's house is really Dan Marino's house in real life, and that thing was palatial. I don't know where that is, but that's a beautiful house.
In Miami.
Well, I know where, though, because as we know, Miami's got
Sunny Isle, probably.
Not Miami Gardens.
I read that we rented it out.
Yeah. Did you have a favorite location?
I would be more like that. More the visual scenes like that. I mean, I'm not thinking the party.
How about a goosebump moment, something that gave you chills? You mentioned one earlier.
It's the speech. I mean, it's the speech. Like, when it comes to sports movies, for me, this is the speech. And last night, when it finally got to the speech, I was just sitting there and I was so zoned into it. I had goosebumps, and about 10 seconds left in the speech, Meg's like, hey, can I ask you something? And I'm like, fuck. Just let me get through the whole damn thing. I had to rewind it and watch it again. I love that speech. I used to watch it before games. And the older you get, the more you identify with it.
You keep going back to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's truly, and it was inspired by a Schottenheimer speech. And Al Pacino supposedly went.
Marty was good.
Yeah, and he supposedly shadowed Shanahan for a while before he played the role. Any.
I don't know. I never viewed him like that.
Yeah.
Marty was all about emotion and relationships, and had him at the Pro Bowl. He tried to trade for me a couple of times. Liked Marty a lot.
Yeah, I thought that was just an amazing speech. And all the other sports speeches, people talk about Kurt Russell and Miracle. I think it's overrated. You look at the Mox speech at halftime of the last game, Varsity Blues.
But he's trying to, in Miracle, he's capturing a guy that's not really dynamic. And hockey's a whole nother world.
Yeah.
And, a kid who grew up 2-3 streets down from me, Jack O'Callahan, was on the team. Yeah. So for me, it was kind of
I just didn't like
cool.
objectively.
No, it's different.
It's just
you got Al Pacino giving a speech.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
Now, it's a little unrealistic. You'd never have it. That's like a night before the game speech at the hotel more than it is. The best speeches you ever get are at the hotel.
Yeah.
The speech you get
never
before the
got
game,
one at the hotel.
Well, I talk about coaches. Sometimes coaches will talk to you the night before. In today's NFL, they got a different message every fucking week, and sometimes really good. And sometimes you have players get up and talk. and some of the best, most emotional speeches I've heard have been in hotel ballrooms. The game day speeches,
like it's hard to fully. I think
you're not going to have somebody on a knee for 5 minutes either.
Yeah, exactly, and it's hard to fully take in like everything like a game day speech because realistically,
you're not listening. You're just like fucking.
There's a lot of guys that just like ready to go.
I want to say this though, Pacino's first speech, which I loved. His maybe the first game at the half. Yeah, when LL Cool J raised his hand.
It's like, what are you doing?
But I'm just telling you, that speech, that is Jeff Fisher. Like, I don't know if Fish loved this movie, but Pacino at the half, at the beginning of the movie, sped up, or actually slowed down, is Jeff Fisher. Down to his hand movements. You know, Fish would talk like this and his hands would go like this. And there was something else Pacino was doing. Fish was exactly like that. And the reason guys love Fish was the same way Al Pacino was like peer-to-peer with you. Like he was like, I'm the king, but we're in this together and I'm going to talk to you like a man and I'm going to appeal to like the realness.
He's a player.
In you. You know, and Fish had that like, you get into half, we'd be down, we'd be playing like shit, but he was leveling with you. He's like, come on, like what the fuck are, you know, like he would just appeal to the most realistic, the most realistic thought in your head. And, you know,
something you can relate to.
A lot of coaches, they talk at you. A lot of coaches, they got these preconceived messages that they're trying to push. Like Fish was real like that. And he just reminded me a lot of Fish at different points of the movie. And that's a compliment because I think anybody want to play for Al Pacino.
Al Pacino's great.
Yeah.
So good. All right, let's just do closing thoughts or anything else that you guys had notes on that you wanted to hit that we didn't get to hit.
Yeah, so I think when it comes to the casting, it's kind of interesting when you look back at some of these movies I mean, we talked about Puff Daddy was almost, at that point he was Puff Daddy, I think. He was almost Willie Beeman.
The studio wanted him because his music at the time was generating a lot of revenue.
Well, they also made a run at Will Smith, who was not interested. Puff Daddy came with an entourage, and Pacino was like, nah, like I'm cool, but this is not going to work. So we had that. Another fact about the movie that I read was that they'd have Miami models and like, you know, on the line between model and sex worker, they'd have these chicks like bust out to the set to encourage the cast, which is a lot of players and a lot of like, you know, A-listers to stick around and work. Like, so they'd like keep them around with some of these gals that you saw in the movie.
Marketing gig.
Crazy. Yeah, I thought Clint Eastwood, I read, was almost Al Pacino. That wouldn't have worked as well. Yeah, I thought it was a great movie. Or not great movie, let me not say that. But like a 7 out of 10.
So after watching this movie again, I want to ask you guys, is Brock Purdy the white Willie Beeman?
Oh, that's interesting. That's really interesting. Minus the
personality.
Yeah. Minus this part, you know, the bell curve when he was like thought he was, you know, next greatest thing since sliced bread. I think Brock Purdy, the storyline.
The storyline, yeah, not like obviously.
Because they lost in the championship too to the Eagles.
Yep.
That's pretty good.
I thought about it. I was just like, because my girl was like she was like, "Does this really happen?" And I laugh and I go, like, actually, this happened with Brock Purdy. I was like, it's a shot in the dark. You going into starting a season as a third string quarterback, and you think that like you're going to end up playing.
I just watched Marshall, Foxx, you know, ESPN, late at night in the hotel in Philadelphia, and Marshall Foxx was amazing.
Yeah, baller.
It all like just reminded me that he was great. But Kurt Warner, that was the whole deal with Kurt Warner, and Marshall Faulk, ironically enough, missed the block that, you know, hurt the quarterback. And, you know, so I think they did to me, the essence of the game itself, they captured all the peripheral stuff.
Yeah.
I think it was a little bit exaggerated, obviously, a lot exaggerated, and you swing for the fences, and I give them credit. I thought they did a great job, and I thought Al Pacino was fabulous. You know, I thought there were really a lot of great performances. And I thought, once again, I give it to LT. LT really showed some great emotion in the movie.
And they knocked it out of the park, I think, with the final football scene. Slowing the clock down, all the way to like LL Cool J's position when he gets that screen and he's running. They actually have him like switch his hand to the right hand, like to get ready to go out of bounds. And I'm watching, I'm like, yo, this is actually a really good.
The little minutia of it all.
Yeah, because it's the things as a football player, 2-minute drill, like that's what it kind of seems like for you. It's it's only 40 seconds, but like hey, 40 seconds, we're about to get 6 or 7 plays in if we do everything the right way. And
he has to trust, for Oliver Stone, who obviously has no football background, to trust the people he has in place and to trust the players. I'm sure people are getting coached up during the scene.
Oh yeah,
as they're running the scene by whether it's Terrell Owens or it's Jim Brown or it's whoever, Lawrence Taylor. No. That's not the way you do it. It's a last 5 seconds, switch hands, get out of bounds, do this, do that. And Alan Graff does a great job with the second unit.
Oh yeah, one more thing. If the Justin Jefferson thing never happened later, I would say that scene is unrealistic when Willie Beeman gets flipped into the end zone. But now that we've seen it, you can't say
flip it in the end zone.
You can't say that it's unrealistic.
All right, Dad. Thank you for coming through and talking to us about the movie.
Yeah. Do you guys validate on tickets? Do you do that online?
Yeah, we'll do that for you. Yeah.
Hey guys and gals, we had a lot of fun. Like and subscribe and comment. Be sure to stay tuned in because we have some more great YouTube content. Talk to you guys next time. Peace.